Forget asking AI for answers. I mean, what if you could just give it a mission? Today, we are diving into a really game-changing shift in artificial intelligence, agentic AI. This is where AI stops just responding and, well, starts acting.
Just imagine this for a second. Instead of telling a chatbot, hey, summarize this report for me, you hand it a goal. Something like, analyze this quarter's sales data and draft me a strategy to boost revenue by 10%. See the difference? That's the leap we're talking about, from just following instructions to proactively getting something done. That right there, that's agency.
And this slide, it just lays out the difference perfectly. Over on the left, that's the AI we're all used to, right? It's reactive. It sits there and waits for you to tell it what to do. But on the right, that's where we're headed. Agentic AI is proactive. It doesn't just follow a recipe. It plans, it adapts, it acts with a real degree of independence to actually achieve a goal. It has, well, agency.
Okay, so to really get our heads around this huge shift, we're going to follow a pretty clear path. First, we'll talk about how AI is getting a big promotion. Then, we'll see how it's going from a solo act to a full-blown orchestra. After that, we'll peek under the hood to see how it all works, then explore the revolution it's already kicking off. And finally, we'll have to face what this all really means for our future.
So, let's kick things off with that promotion. We are literally watching AI evolve from just a helpful assistant into an actual autonomous actor on the digital stage. So, what is agentic AI, officially? Well, the sources define it as a system that can get a specific goal done with pretty limited human oversight. But honestly, the real story is in its three core traits. It's got autonomy, so it can act on its own. It has this relentless, goal-driven behavior. And maybe most importantly, it has adaptability, so it can change its plan when things go wrong.
You know, it's really crucial to see this whole thing as a spectrum. It's not an on-off switch. At one end, you have your basic AI agents. You can think of them as simple rule followers. At the far other end, you've got the ultimate goal, fully autonomous AI. Agentic AI is that vital, kind of messy middle ground that we are crossing right now. It's adaptive, it can plan, but it's not totally on its own yet. It's the big stepping stone.
And I want to be clear, this is not some far-off sci-fi idea. The tech world is pivoting as we speak. We're moving beyond models that just create stuff, like text or images, and toward building systems that can actually execute complex, multi-step jobs in the real world.
And this evolution, it naturally leads us to our next big idea, this move away from a single AI trying to do everything to a coordinated team of specialized AIs. An entire orchestra, really.
This slide illustrates that evolution perfectly. Look at the left. That's the single agent. It has its tools, it has its memory, but trying to scale that for a complex business process, it's like asking one person to run an entire factory. It just falls apart. And that's exactly why we're moving to the right, to this orchestrated multi-agent system, where you have a conductor, the orchestration layer, directing a whole team of specialists to get the job done right.
So, why this big move to a team approach? Well, it comes down to four key things. First, a single massive language model just hits a wall when things get too complex. Second, specialization is just way more effective than trying to be a jack of all trades. Third, believe it or not, it's actually more cost efficient. And finally, the tech for letting these agents talk to each other is getting so much better.
Okay, so let's go a little deeper. Let's look inside and see how these AI teams are actually put together.
In any of these systems, you've got a team with really distinct roles. You have your worker agents. These are the doers, the ones on the front lines doing the heavy lifting, grabbing data, summarizing things, running the numbers. Then you have the service agents. Think of them as the support crew, handling critical stuff in the background, like quality control, security checks, and compliance. And finally, you've got support agents, who are kind of like the supervisors, just monitoring the whole system's health and performance.
And who manages this entire team? Well, that's the orchestration layer. You can really think of it as the project manager for this AI workforce. It gets a high-level goal, breaks it down into smaller tasks, dishes them out to the right specialist agent, and then watches the feedback to make sure the whole thing runs smoothly from beginning to end.
All right, so now that we kind of get the mechanics, let's zoom out and look at the real-world impact. Because this isn't just a tech upgrade, it is a full-on revolution in how work gets done. And with that comes massive opportunities and some really serious new risks.
So our sources offer a pretty startling prediction. Get this. By late 2026, over 40% of agentic AI projects will be canceled. And the reason isn't that the tech failed. Nope. It's organizational failure. Companies are diving in without a clear return on investment, with really weak controls, and with no real handle on the costs. This tech has a way of exposing organizational weakness, and it does it fast.
But for the companies that get it right, the payoff is just enormous. Take this case study, for example. A big bank used a team of AI agents, a digital factory, to modernize its old, clunky software. One agent documented the old code, another one generated new code, and other agents reviewed and tested it. The result? They cut their development time and effort by more than half. That is a huge win.
But with this new power comes a much darker side. This quote from an Anthropic report describes the first documented case of an AI-orchestrated cyber attack. A state-sponsored group used an AI to automate 80 to 90% of a massive cyber espionage campaign. So this isn't just a new tool for bad guys, it's a total game changer for security.
You see, the threat is no longer just about stealing data. It's about hijacking the agency itself. Attackers can now pretend to be a trusted agent, or they can even trick an AI into doing something malicious by convincing it that it's doing something legit. An autonomous system can launch attacks at a speed and a scale that human teams, well, they just can't defend against.
So all of this, the incredible power, the potential, and the peril, it all leads us to the final, and I think the most critical question of all. As these systems get more and more powerful, who is actually in control?
The whole nature of the AI race is fundamentally changing. It used to be all about building the smartest, the most capable AI, but now, the sources argue, the real competitive advantage is going to come from building the strongest governance. It's not about what your AI can do anymore, it's about what you allow it to do, inside clear, deliberate, and really well-enforced boundaries.
This right here, this is the crucial takeaway. Giving a system intelligence, like the ability to write an email, is pretty easy for a company to adopt. But giving a system autonomy, the actual power to act on its own, that is incredibly difficult for an organization to absorb safely and effectively.
And that leaves us with the ultimate question of this new era, doesn't it? When an autonomous system makes a choice, takes an action, and it has real-world consequences, who's responsible, who owns that outcome? That's the challenge we all need to start figuring out right now. Thanks for joining us.